Hi there, it's Grandma Roseanne, and we're going to do something really, really delicious. We're going to make a country loaf bread. And it's that bread that's just in a loaf. You slice it, you make sandwiches with it, make toast with it, but it's absolutely delicious. So that's what we're going to do. Now we're going to be working with yeast, so we have to be a little bit careful. Here I have 1.5 cups of water, but the water temperature is important. So what we're going to do, heat that up a little bit. You want that water temperature to be somewhere between 105 and 110. If it's too cold, it won't activate the yeast. If it's too warm, too hot, you kill the yeast. So you've got to be really careful. I don't use a thermometer, even though that's a smart thing to do. The reason I don't is that I learned a long time ago, if you just stick your finger in the water and it's the right temperature that you would be able to have a baby drink it, that's the right temperature for your yeast. So let's take a look here. Oh, the baby would be so happy. All right, now to this, what we're going to do is we're going to have 2 teaspoons of yeast that's going to go in. And I'm also going to add 1 teaspoon of sugar. Sugar helps activate yeast, so they're really good together. And you just want to mix that up. Just like this. Now what we're looking for here is as the yeast starts to activate, what it's going to do is it's going to start creating bubbles, because this is alive. It is. So it'll start activating bubbles. That way you know that your yeast is good. And what we're doing now is called proofing. You're proofing the yeast. You want to take this step all the time, simply because if you have yeast that is not good, maybe it's too old or it dried up on you or whatever it is, and it's not going to activate in here, you can go through 3 hours of food processing and you're not going to have anything but a lump at the end of it. So always take that extra minute or 2 to get in there and to just really proof it. Okay, let me see. While we're waiting for this to kind of activate a little bit, we're going to get our flour ready. Now I'm using bread flour, and that's the flour you really want to use. It has more stability in it, and what it's going to do is going to give you a really fine loaf of bread. So what I've got here are 4 cups of bread flour. I'm going to put them in my mixer, simply because for me it's easier to use this because it's going to knead it. So if you have a mixer that has an attachment like this, it's a dough hook, this is a really easy way to handle your dough. If you don't have a dough hook, I will show you after this is kneaded, I will show you how to do it by hand. Basically what you would do is you would put your flour on the counter, you're going to put your yeast and your other ingredients in it in a well, pull the dough into it, and then it'll be sticky in the beginning. Just start working that dough, and then pretty soon it'll become very elastic, and at that point I'll show you how to knead it, okay? So you'll do the same thing, it's just gonna take you a little bit longer. All right, if you want to come here and take a look, do you see the bubbles around the side right there? That's telling us that our yeast is good. It's telling us that it's perfect, so we're really good here. Now we're going to put the yeast in the bowl. Get all of it in there. The dough hook goes on. And to this, I'm adding 1 teaspoon of softened butter. I'm sorry, 1 tablespoon. All right, what we did is we allowed this to knead for about 10 minutes. This is what it's looking like. Look at that. That is absolutely beautiful. Now, if you don't have a mixer like this, after you have gotten your flour, your well, and you put your liquid in there and you pulled it all together and then you start scraping it like this. When you get it to this point, you push with your heel of your hands, push and roll it out. Quarter turn, roll it out. quarter turn, roll it out. Now then, this needs to rise. What I have done is I have a bowl that I have put into my oven, and it's been there at 200 degrees. I kicked it up to 200 degrees just for a couple of minutes. I shut the oven off. I let the bowl sit in there because I wanted the bowl to stay very warm. Now then, we want to put our dough in here, but we're going to spray this with some olive oil. Put your dough in and coat it just like that. And you're doing that so it doesn't dry out on you. Then what you're going to do is get some plastic wrap, and you want to cover it tightly, just like this. See how tight that is? You're doing this because you want to keep this absolutely draft free, so it's tight. Now I'm going to put this back in my oven, and it's going to rise for 1 hour. If you need your oven, you can't leave it there for an hour, that's not a problem. Just leave it somewhere in your kitchen that it's going to be away from any kind of draft, and put a towel over it or a cloth over it, just so that it'll stay nice and warm. But I don't need my oven, so I'm going to put it in there, and we will be back in 1 hour. Well, our bread has done very well. I want you to come in. Let's take a quick look at this. It started out a tiny little ball, but look at that. Isn't that beautiful, you guys? So pretty. All right, I have a 9x5 loaf pan, 2.5 inches tall. So I know that this is going to cook in 30 minutes with a little bit of crust time at the end. So if you use a different size, you might have to make a little bit of adjustment. Now what we need to do is just get this out onto our counter. Come on. Do your thing. There you go. And now we're going to just knead it a little bit, just like this. This is called dappling, when you just use your fingers and spread it out. You want to stretch that dough out. And just keep in mind the width of your pan so you don't come out here, because your pan's only going to be this wide. Now we're going to roll it, and you want to roll and pull it towards you. Pull it towards you. And then when you get to the end, give it a good pinch. Just like one of your kids when they were not very good, pinched. No, you didn't. All right. Now you have a loaf, and we want to stretch a little bit. You want that skin to be tight, just like that. What do you think about that? You want to oil your pan, so you're able to actually get this butter out. Prepared. Go ahead and put your loaf in there, just like this. Okay. We want to dust the top of it, just like that. And you're doing that so that as this rises the second time, it's going to rise for 30 minutes now. You don't want it to stick to whatever you have it covered with. I'm going to put this over the top. My kitchen is very warm right now, so I'm not worried about any drafts or anything, but I still want to protect this a little bit. Okay? Now it's just 30 minutes and then we're going to come back for baking. Well, our bread has risen and this is about what you're wanting it to look like. It's going to go into an oven that's preheating at 355. But what we do first is we want to cut it on the top, just like this. Okay. Now the reason you're doing that, the reason we do that is because you need the gases inside to be able to come out, because they'll come out somewhere. If you don't give it a place for it to vent, it'll pop out of sides or wherever, and you don't want that to happen. In the olden days, they used to do this because they used communal ovens, and everybody put their bread in there, so whatever design they put on the top of their bread, that told them then that that was their bread, their loaf. So this is going to go in for 30 minutes at 355 degrees. I'm going to put a pan of hot water in there because I want that steam in there as well. So I'll be back in a half hour and we'll show you the finished product. I have to put this little insert in because after the bread was completed, which you'll see the rest of the video in a minute how it turned out beautiful, but there was one part that didn't record, and I think that's an important part. After your 30 minutes of baking, take your bread out of the oven, take it out of the loaf pan, kick the temperature up to 410 degrees, stick it back in the oven for 6 minutes. And what that's going to do is going to develop the crust all the way around the bread. So I didn't want you not to have that part. So just continue on. You'll see the rest of the video and I think you're going to love it. Well, our delicious country loaf has completed. The fragrance in this house is absolutely outrageous right now. There's nothing more inviting than the smell of bread baking in a home. Now, I want you to be able to listen to this, so come in a little bit closer, cameraman. Can you hear that? Can you hear that crunch?
Oh, yeah.
It's really, really, really good. But let's just take a taste. Let's just see what this might look like inside and how flavorful. Oh my goodness, look at that. That's absolutely perfect. That's just perfect. It's cooked well, it's cooked all the way through. And I'm going to, of course you can do anything you want, toast, sandwiches. I make croutons with this that are just wonderful and I have a video up on that. But I'm also, on this one, just going to use some strawberry jam that we made and we canned it, so that video is up there too, you guys. If I knew how to put a link up there, I would do that for you. I just don't know how to do it, so you have to go search it. I'm sorry. We do the best we can. Alrighty, strawberry jam, homemade bread. Life does not get better than this. Oh. That's a keeper. Definitely a keeper. So, you guys, be sure to hit that subscribe. Give us a little thumbs up if you like the video. And come back, come back, come back. Ingredients below. All I think it took us was just, I don't know, maybe 3 hours maximum. Not long. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.